Hi, welcome back to Classy Pitch. I'm Dr. H. Have you ever struggled with sight reading? Or have you looked at a piece of music and don't know where to look at first? Today we're going to talk about that, sight reading. Before we get into how to sight read, you must know that you have to be very familiar with the piano first in order to sight read well. Otherwise, you will be struggling finding the notes instead of reacting to what you are reading. Now, let's get started. Today, we will be using the first two systems of Bach Invention number 4 in D minor as an example. The first step of sight reading is to look at the key signature and the time signature. The key signature tells you how many sharps or flats that you will have. The time signature tells you how many beats there are in a measure. In this example, our key signature has one flat, which is B flat. And we're in a minor key, so that indicates that we are in D minor. And if there are no modulations, then we will have B flat in the key signature, and then C sharp as a leading tone. Only these two notes will be on the black keys, otherwise everything else will be on the white key. And our time signature is 3/8, which means we have 3/8 notes in one measure. After you check the key signature and the time signature, check to see if there are any tempo indication or there are any indications for the feeling of the piece. You'll see that at the top of the piece over the first bar, such as allegro, andante, agitato, tranquillo, things that tells you how you should play this piece stylistically. In this example, we have allegro deciso as indication. Allegro means fast, deciso means decisive. After you check all those, scan through the piece and see if there are any accidentals or any key changes and make a mental note of it. So when you get to those places, it doesn't surprise you. An accidental is a sharp or a flat that is not in your key signature. As for key changes, don't let them surprise you halfway through the piece. After you scan through the piece, then read your left hand very carefully. I like to start with my left hand because left hand controls the harmony. And if you can imagine the sound in your head, then you'll have a better sense of the piece. And after you've done that, do the same thing for your right hand. Remember, don't touch the piano yet. After you read through both hands very carefully, try and see if you can hear the sound in your head. If you're not very advanced, this might be quite difficult, and that's totally fine. It just takes practice. If you can't hear the harmony, at least try to hear the tonality of the piece. For example, if the piece is in D minor, then try to hear D minor. In your head. After you play through the piece in your head, now it's time to start the actual sight reading. One very important rule of sight reading is whatever happens, keep going. Do not stop. Sight reading doesn't mean you to be perfect, and you won't be anyway unless you're a prodigy. And if you are, then you shouldn't be watching this video. Anyway, just like anything else you do, the more you practice, the better you will get. When you are practicing, don't focus on the mistakes. Just keep going and do the best that you can. Now, let's talk about how to practice sight reading. One very good way of practicing sight reading is to sit in front of the piano, open any piece of music, pick a system, and start reading it. I always recommend my students to use Bach Inventions as sight reading practice, as both hands have almost equal parts in terms of difficulties. But you can also use Haydn Sonata, Mozart Sonata, or even early Beethoven sonatas to do your sight reading practice. Just remember, in the beginning, pick a piece that has a fewer sharps or flats to start with. After you picked a section, give yourself about a minute to read everything that's on the page. Use the method that we talked about earlier in this episode. And after the sight reading, go back to the same passage and play it very slowly and see if you can fix any mistakes that you might have made. You can pick 1 or 2 pieces to sight read a day. If you do it every day, it won't take long. And I would suggest you to start with tonal works, so no Bartók, no Schoenberg. That's it for today's episode. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment area below, or you can email me at classypitch@gmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter or Instagram at classypitch. Again, I'm Dr. H. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Stay classy.